You're the main audience. I know, I feel like. Me, you, and Aaron, the audience. Or like those two dudes from the Muppets, you know, from balcony. Okay, so there's no way to really like look. Oh, okay.
Recording in progress.
It's like the same, like, we have the different stuff. Yeah, yeah.
All right. All right, so it is 10 o'clock, and I'm calling this meeting to order. The Infrastructure Operations and Environment Committee meeting at 10:02 with that big clock over there that we now have. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Here.
Here. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or observe a moment of silence. Director Antila, please lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Now is the time for public comments for items not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comments?
We have not. If anyone wishes to make public comments for non-agenda items, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Okay, thank you. Deputy General Manager Michael Savannah, please lead us through the rest of the agenda.
Before we begin. I gotta get you a mic that works.
No worries.
There we go. Before we begin, I want to announce that item 2 has been pulled to allow Safety Committee staff to be in attendance for the presentation. So we'll bring that back at our next IOE committee.
Sounds good, thank you.
That was item 1, or I guess that's as we start. Item 1 on the agenda is to accept the minutes of the December 9th, 2025 Infrastructure Operations and Environment Committee. Madam Clerk, have we received any comments on this item?
I'm gonna make one correction, just for the record. It's item 3 that's being pulled. That's my fault. Yeah, it's item 3. Okay, so we haven't received any comments on item 1. If anyone wants to comment on item 1 minutes, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no comments.
All right, thank you. And can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to move the item.
Okay, great, and I approve as well. Next item.
Item number 2 on the agenda is to review the Infrastructure Operations and Environment Committee's charter and recommend changes as deemed appropriate. Madam Clerk, have we received any comments on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to comment on item 2, reviewing the IOE charter, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Little misleading presenter. I mean, we'll just talk through it pretty
Okay.
quickly. This charter, I believe, came to the board when the committees got ratified again. This is just an opportunity for you guys to comment if you have any changes that you want to see in the charter. One item that staff noticed was just the bringing of the PSLA to this committee. which we also take to the F&A committee. There may be some cleanliness around removing it from an item here. You guys already get project updates here, which would include the projects that come from the PSLA, so there isn't really much else for us to update this committee on. Aside from that, if you all are okay with that change, we can talk about how to make that change. Outside of that, if there's anything that you all would like to change in the charter, we can talk about that.
Director Rentila?
I'm just curious, do we, like, vet the applicants, the contractors, to see if they're signatory to the unions?
Do we vet the contractors? I'd have to ask Angela to come and speak to that. You're talking about for the PSLA?
Yeah.
Good morning, Angela Andrews, Director of Infrastructure and Planning. So when there is a project, the project manager works with the contractor and the contractor works with the building trades. And so they call the meeting with the signatories and inform them of all the different items that are in the project. And then they ask from that group if there's anyone interested in working on that project or participating in the project. So it's vetted through the building trades.
Thank you. I just
Welcome.
wanted to get that on the record.
Sure, no
Thank you.
problem.
Thank you.
That's it, okay. This looks good. Your suggestion is fine. I mean,
Okay.
I don't have an issue with that at all. How about you, Director Rentila?
None, thank you.
Okay.
Ask for your assistance in just talking about how we would make that adjustment to the charter that they're talking about in terms of removing the PSLA item from there. Is that something we need to bring back here, take directly to the board? Seems pretty small. Maybe we can go directly to the board with it.
Yeah, good morning.
you,
Justin Lovell, Deputy General Manager. So yeah, any change to charter, since this is a standing committee of the board, we don't necessarily have to bring the full charter back to the board. It's really at the initiation when the board is forming a standing committee is when we would bring the entire charter, but these are just minor changes that as a committee, you can give direction to staff. We can make those modifications. We can just, send it back to you, just bring it back to you on a future meeting or just send an email like, hey, these are the adjustments that we agreed to make too. We can communicate that to the full board at a future meeting if any changes were made. But I don't believe there would be any, we would need to have the full board authorize it. But if I'm incorrect, then it'll come back to the board. But I believe we can just do any minor changes you can make here at the committee level.
Thank you, Justin. So we'll make the changes, and then we'll send an email to you all letting you know that the changes have been made. Is that sufficient?
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Angela. Item number 3 is the item that was pulled. Item number 4 on the agenda is to receive information about the North Richmond Living Levee project funding. Madam Clerk, have you received any public comment on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to comment on item 4, North Richmond Living Levee project funding, please raise your hand in Zoom or approach the podium. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Our General Manager, Andrew Clow, is going to give us a brief presentation here.
I think we know.
Morning. Good morning, Andrew Cloud, General Manager. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
The request at the board meeting was, I gave a brief overview. It's a little more detail on what our potential funding pathways are and what they've been to get us to the point where we are now. And the point that we're at now, maybe I'll start with that, is we have $1.35 million environmental infrastructure new start that will be hopefully in the Army Corps of Engineers work plan in the next 60 to 90 days. It's been signed as part of the legislation, part of the water, energy, and whatever else was included in that bill. That's huge. Environmental infrastructure is what we were asking for. The funds that come through that section allows us more flexibility. It's not the traditional general infrastructure, which is the most common way that the Corps of Engineer dollars have gone out, and that's where the Army Corps of Engineer control much more of the design as well as the construction, and then turn the project over to the local agency, for long-term maintenance, et cetera. What we're intended to do and we're optimistic we'll be able to do with this is that as we work with the Army Corps of Engineers, we'll utilize primarily the designs that we've already generated, which is what I'll come back to, how we got to there. But that's huge. That opens up access potentially to other federal funding so that we can actually afford construction. Because as you know, we are finishing up the Clean and Green project, which Justin's still in the room, pretty much, taking up our resources. But we've modernized the infrastructure dramatically, and now we need to protect it from coastal flooding. So we initially got grants from the San Francisco Bay Restoration Authority. We're in our second grant with them, and what we've been working on that is we developed the North Richmond Collaborative Shoreline Plan and are working on drawings, designs to get us to as close to 100% as we can of design and construction specifications for construction of a nature-based living levee between San Pablo and Wildcat Creeks, 0.6 miles, which is basically our waterfront on the marsh. That funding has been regional funding. We've been encouraged to apply again for another round. We're still gonna have to figure out what it is we're asking for there, because as we finish this, the work plan, if we can get into the work plan to the Army Corps of Engineers, what we've asked for from that is that they are providing peer review and then some hydrologic analysis, some other expertise that was within the Corps of Engineers. But I'm not gonna go into the details of the project and how we're trying to divvy that up at this point, but that's the intent. And so we want the overlap between this existing grant, which allows us to keep our full consulting team intact for the next year and a half as we finalize the deliverables under that second grant from the Restoration Authority. Again, regional funding, a lot of support from Supervisor Joya in helping us to get there. And then we start to work with the Corps of Engineers, which opens potentially the pipeline, as I said, because back in 2022, we are in the Water Resource Development Act, which what that does is identifies potential project areas, which we have the North Richmond shoreline, and there's $45 million potentially in there for a project somewhere along the North Richmond shoreline. Well, that would be us, and that's what the environmental infrastructure dollars with the Corps of Engineers is pulling from. And those are not actual funds. They're essentially, if you want to think about it, is our 10-year capital plan or our master plan. In other words, Congress has said the Corps of Engineers is eligible to use up to this amount of money for a project in their work plan. It doesn't say the money is there yet. It just says they have that authority to be able to get there. That's where we needed to be in the budget and signed by the president, which we did this one time to get that first piece of funding. What's big about that is that getting a new start on these projects has been very difficult and does not happen very often, especially in Northern California currently. But Representative Garamendi carried a number of things through and made sure they did not get shedded from it, and we kept pushing, and he was instrumental in helping get us through. Congressman DeSalinet's office helped us the first round in getting us into the Water Resource Development Act in 2022. So now once we get engaged with the Corps of Engineers, we'll have to put up matching funds, which is 25% of the $1.35 million. And we have to have those funds. We have to show the Corps of Engineers we have those funds available before we can finalize the agreement with them, which we have. We have the local funds to be able to do that.
That was my question, so.
Yes, we've made sure we have that, and that's one reason why the ask is relatively small, 1.35 million, for a lot of strategic reasons. So how it's big enough to be noticeable and do what we need to do to help us get through. It's small enough that it could fit in there because there was only like 75 million, or I don't know what the number is, that went into these projects nationally. But we're in, almost, once it's in the work plan. So what happens after that? Well, we continue working with the funds we have from the Restoration Authority, with the funds that we have from the Army Corps of Engineers, and we work together to create these design specifications while at the same time still working on the 5-mile stretch of the North Richmond shoreline in a collaborative manner on the planning aspects, which means integration with the adaptation plans that are being prepared by the county and the city of Richmond. But we get to construction if we're successful, and we ask the Corps of Engineers, and the money they get it appropriated, and we have funds potentially available for construction, we're going to have to match again. So now we're talking, say, $25 million in federal for construction. Where's our $6 to $8 million? That's a big hole that we have. And that's where we're looking, because we put in local funds, we put in regional funds, we're continuing to apply for other state funds. We're looking at Ocean Protection Council again. Perhaps there's a project in there in Track 2 that can help provide the match for this Army Corps. It could provide for ongoing support for the community engagement that we have through our North Richmond stakeholder group, which we want to maintain that as a point where any discussions from any of the agencies on issues regarding the North Richmond shoreline in a collaborative way, they can come here. We can use that stakeholder group for that purpose. There's continuity from that. It was formed just as we were applying for the first round of grants from the San Francisco Bay Restoration Authority. So there's a lot of ways that we have to go about trying to find that funding. I think we have we're in a good position now, which once it sinks in that we actually look like we're getting into the Army Corps' work plan. Now it sinks in, okay, now how do we actually do this? So first we integrate with the Army Corps of Engineers and make sure that we're working together with them on a regular basis and in partnership with them, which is what we had hoped for and intended by going through the environmental infrastructure. We've met with them, and they're very supportive and looking forward to working with us from the district office. But we'll need those matching dollars from the state. And then there's all the other asks and amenities. I won't call them community benefits because that implies something very specific, often in mitigation measures and things that will be included in development entitlements. But amenities for the community, connections to the bike trails, the Bay Trail, other active transportation, a number of other things. None of these are funded. We have no funds for those. We don't have funds for construction, although by identifying these federal funds, it makes it, I mean, hello, state of California, we need some help. We got a plan here, and we got a project. We have design specs, and we have access to federal funds. We need some matching funds to make this happen. We have a very, very good argument. For example, to even get state funds, we need to be identified as through the Ocean Protection Council grant, for example, which are SB1 funds. We need to be identified as a priority project. In our case, overlapping, we have two jurisdictions, the county and the city of Richmond. We need to be identified as a priority project in their shoreline adaptation plans, which are a requirement of the state. And that's where the governance models will come from. Well, they don't have one yet. Nobody does, but we're out actually in front of that. So what we'll need to get is some identification from the city of Richmond and from the county as they're developing those, that when we make the application, that no, it is the intent that this will be named as a priority project. Because the guidelines, I'm getting off the funding part, but the guidelines that they're working from, BCDC guidelines, those model guidelines were developed primarily on the work that was done through our first grant with the Restoration Authority in generating the collaborative shoreline plan. That's what BCDC formulated much of their model guidelines on. Those model guidelines are what are supposed to be used by all the cities and counties around the bay to develop their shoreline adaptation plans. So we're actually out in front of the curve, which is where we want to be. We have a project that hopefully is very attractive to potential funders. We want to take a look at all the other avenues when we start looking at the amenities that would have to be, how do we pay for the transportation? So we'll be coordinating with the county, with their transportation, as well as the city. We don't want to be in the position of actually having to construct the bike pathways along Richmond Parkway, but we have property, and we've already offered potential for easements to make better connections to the trails, improvements to the intersection at Pittsburgh to make it safer for the bike and pedestrian, and those connections that could come down along through our property and connect to the trail. But none of that is funded. Some parts could happen as part of the construction, but most of it cannot. So that's where we're looking for transportation dollars. We're looking for other perhaps private funding. We're going to have long-term maintenance requirements where there's desire for education kiosks and things like that. So those are further in the future. Having this new start, which will be in the Army Corps of Engineers work plan, is the huge hurdle that we had to overcome. And finding that, now we have to fill the hole, but it's a hole in that we can point to it and say, we've got this, we need this right here, and state of California, how can you help us? So we'll be applying for state fundings through the agencies on some small amounts here. We'll also be continuing to talk to our state legislators. We'll be up in Sacramento in May for CSD legislative days. We're engaging with staff from Mr. Aragine's office and Ms. Wick's office for support. I don't know what the mechanism for bringing the funds in will be, but if we are successful, for example, in getting a grant of whatever amount through the Ocean Protection Council SB1 funds, and now we have some and we're in contract with the state for that, if there's some other kind of legislative action that's taken that would be separate from or to direct some funds, having that relationship, having that contract vehicle, having that in place already will allow that to happen perhaps much more easily. So those are the kinds of things we're looking at as well to just get ourselves in a good position. And the project itself, not only community engagement and improvement to the ecology of the bay, protection of the infrastructure, as well as transportation on Richmond Parkway, connection from the port to I-80. So it touches all the bases. What we can do here is helpful to the city of Richmond and the residents, as well as the infrastructure that supports the whole Bay Area. So we hope we've identified and developed an attractive project. And that's, at this point, the only thing solid is we have the Restoration Authority grant, and it looks like we've got the new start in the Army Corps, and I say that's all that's huge. It's putting together all these different funding sources. By the end, if we really manage to construct this and have put various amenities, we'll probably have 5, 6, maybe 7 different funding sources coming in to do it. It'll get a lot more complicated. But that's where we are today, and it looks like it might actually happen. So.
Sounds good. Questions, Director Mantilla?
Yeah, I'm very proud to be a part of this, and for people that are watching, it's important that we protect life and property as well as sewage from going out into the bay, and that's primarily what this levee is about. I heard you say 5 miles. I thought it was 6 miles, but
It depends which point, or how you travel along it, but basically from Point Malati to Point Pinole.
Could you tell us what the total cost of this would be if we had all the bells and whistles, and what the 1.3 million is going to actually give us, if it's all administrative or?
The initial funding from the Army Corps of Engineers will be to do additional design around the hydrologic connections, peer review of our existing work, and help us get closer to 100% drawings for construction purposes, for bidding. It isn't going to do anything for construction. That's what has to come next. And how much will it cost? Depends on which part you're talking about. If we're referring to the 0.6 miles, the first phase, what we call phase one, the part that we can actually construct, most realistically, 25, 30 million, but you start to put what are the other amenities, how much of the bike trails, on top, I don't know, another 5, 6, 10, 12. It's really pretty speculative at this point. But the core part of it, constructing the levee, we feel like there's enough funding identified as potentially available in the Water Resource Development Act from the federal government to do the construction, as long as we come up with the match. So that first portion, but it's hard to, the whole stretch, I can't give you a number on that, because it's very different as you start to go out around Republic Landfill or over by Dotson Marsh, where there is some protection. The long term will be, how does that marsh get replenished so that it continues to do what it's doing now, as protecting part of the shoreline.
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that it's important to start sooner than later, because you don't want to wait till the last minute when sea level rises at the point where it's threatening us. So I appreciate all the work that staff has done, and thanks again.
Billions of dollars are going to be needed just around the bay. And it's hard to see where all that money is going to be coming from. So that's another part of it, is being in as early as we can here, and hopefully develop and create a different model for how the Army Corps of Engineers engages and works with the community and in developing these kinds of protections.
Yeah, I just had a thought. I hate to use the word tax, but I don't know if we could ever put a tax on to raise money for this specific project.
There are a number of things that'll need to be considered down the road. Some kind of a assessment district for long-term maintenance. Construction is one thing, and then we'll be responsible for the cost of maintaining the core structure of the levee along our property. But all the other features on it, if we have bike trails, if there are bathrooms, if there are kiosks, et cetera, we need to be looking for a partner. And there's one right next door to us over there, East Bay Regional Park District, that has an inoperable bathroom at the Wildcat Trailhead. So perhaps they'll be happy to come to the table and get that fixed and work with us on that. But that's another project.
And then lastly, I wanted to ask our general manager, what could we do as directors to help this project along?
Continue to engage with the community, explain what it is that we're doing. Work with us as we're trying to work with the state and the Corps for funding and support. But we have to have a project that's suitable for funding, that's appealing and addresses a lot of the concerns that the funders are looking for. So we have that, I think. So to help with that and to keep the public informed, and also actually to help temper expectations to a degree.
Yeah.
In that we're asking what the community wants, and we want to hear that. But for example, very much the community would love a crossing over Richmond Parkway. That's 20 million, I don't know, and it wouldn't be us who would construct that, but we can help push things along in that direction by creating additional connections and understanding of there is access to this part of the shoreline, and there's a lot to see out there, but it doesn't get much use right now. So it's, all of those different connections are important in understanding what we're trying to do here, but it is very possible to do a number of the things that the community is looking for. And I think we can fund a lot of those. Some of them we cannot. It's just,
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome, and I have no questions. Thank you for the report. It appears we're moving in the right direction, but we still have a lot of wood to chop, as they say.
yeah, we have a lot of wood to chop. And we'll provide an update. I'm not sure exactly, maybe in a few months as we have a better idea of the relationship with the Corps and where we are with the current design, and an update on where we are with the plans actually for the levee project, as opposed to just how are we going to pay for it.
Okay, thank you. Much appreciated.
Next on the agenda is item 5, reports on issues or matters pertaining to the work of the committee. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comment on this item?
If not, if anyone wishes to comment on item 5, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comment.
So staff doesn't have any additional reports. However, I'd like to go over the calendar forecast.
Sure.
For the next the next committee meeting and the upcoming board meeting regular calendar items. On the February 18th board meeting regular calendar, there's a contract amendment for remote sewer monitoring. There'll be a brief presentation on that. There's also the Polygon microplastics removal project. So that presentation will be coming back to the board on the 18th. And then on March the 10th, that committee meeting, we will have the safety update item number 3 that we removed from this meeting. There'll also be the mid-year capital plan update, and then there will be a sedimentation basin number 1 project closeout report, essentially. So let you guys know what was going on with that one.
Okay.
Staff is also gathering information regarding WIPES legislation, and we'll schedule that report in the future.
Great.
So that is it from staff.
Thank you. Anything else, Director Mantilla, you want to discuss?
No, thank you.
Okay. Seeing nothing else,
One thing I would like to add.
Sure.
I think, at least for this committee, this is the first time that we've done that calendar forecast, and I appreciate all the work that Robin put into it. It made it really easy to do,
very
so
nice.
thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
nice addition.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next Infrastructure Operations and Environment Committee.
Excuse me, there's another item there. Just asking for additional matters that the committee may want to see in future meetings. Not on yours?
No, I think we're good. I think the only thing that Director Mantilla wanted to see was that the wipes thing.
Okay.
And there was something else as well.
The PIPES program and rebates.
Okay.
Just a quick update on it.
Update on the PIPES program, how it's going, that sort of
We're
thing?
still offering the rebates as well for the sewer laterals.
Okay, we are, short answer, we are, but we'll bring a presentation about the PIPES program.
Yeah, maybe $1 amount on the rebates. Thank you.
So I think I took your line.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, so the
Please.
next Infrastructure Operation and Environment Committee meeting is scheduled for March 10th at 10 a.m.
All right, thank you. Fantastic. So we're going to adjourn this meeting, and it is 10:34. Thank you, everyone.
I know you were looking at the clock. Huh?
It's hard
I
not
was
to.
going to ask 10 more questions just because I knew you were looking at the clock.
It's hard not to look at that clock.
Yeah.
It kind of stares back at you.
Oh, wow.
I like it, though.
It's pretty good size.
Yeah.
Hey,
Thank you.
Work safe, huh?
Appreciate it.
Stay safe out there. Thank you.